Welcome everyone to the Management Leadership Development Interventions video. We will talk about various intervention process that comes around it as the picture has been shown to you. So what are the first thing? There can be structural interventions. Now why structural intervention? Because it is often tells out what needs to be changed in the organization, and probably we can pinpoint the functional areas, the potential problematic areas perhaps where intervention is required, or where have perhaps where the contributions is not coming as expected. So this is the reason why we call it a techno-structural intervention. First, you need to find out in that problem area who is responsible, as to who reports to whom, and what are the methods of checks and balances in places, the arrangement of people, the arrangement of equipment, the arrangement of workflow process, how does it work around it, communication process, and how do we look around what needs to be done. These are the techno structural intervention that comes around. So any problematic area, any difficult position, any functional places where there are impediment, where there are hindrances, where there are complaints, where there are quality issues that comes around, time and again you need to focus out there and try to find out which all actors are present out there, what are the modalities of functioning out in those organizations or those places, who is responsible, who has the control, what are the allocation of resources that comes around it, what actually is the problem that needs to be understood. So what we can do, we can restructure or probably reduce the number of employees, remove excessive layers of management, excessive supervision, try to figure out or prune out the number of employees working out there, and fix responsibilities to each assigned position, if possible, each assigned individual. So downsizing process is all about attrition, workforce reduction in terms, probably phasing people into retirement or buyout. Buyout means probably giving them some kind of incentive to leave the job. Layoffs, probably terminations that we're looking into it. Organizational redesign is to eliminate functions, layer product, merge unit, and redesign task as the case might be. This is exactly what we are looking out here. Next is introduction to organizational development, and how do we go around with organizational development. Way back 72 years, 73 years back, approximately in 1950s, the organizational development was coined by Richard Packard, which are nothing but amalgamation of two words, organization and development. What is organization? Is basically a group of people who work in a structured fashion to meet a goal, for not only the goal of their own requirement but also that of the organization. And as a result, it becomes a collective goals, not only for individuals involved to become an organization, but also for the organization, not only for the organization but also for the societies, and so on and so forth. So social unit of people that is structured and managed to meet a need and to pursue the collective goals. Then comes the development, the systematic use of scientific and technical know-how to meet the specific objectives of the requirement as the case might be. We are talking about organization development. So these two terms which we have understood, the singular terms, is a deliberate planned effort to increase the effectiveness of organization, the reliability of the organization, the viability of the organization. It is the framework of change. Often, a manager needs to do the change by himself, by herself, and ensure that the change has been instilled, and installed in the organization for the newer phase of working, for newer understanding altogether. So let us understand the meaning of organizational development. It is basically applied behavioral science, focuses on understanding and probably looking at the nuances of organizational changes thereby. Every time a organization is embracing a new technology, probably we're looking for an organization change. Every time the organization is embracing a new process of working, probably you're talking about organizational change. Every time an organization is doing new modes of communication, Again, an organizational change. So organization development is a systematic learning and development strategies intended to change the basics of beliefs, attitude, relevance of values, structured of the current organization to better observe disruptive technologies, market opportunities, and ensure challenges thereby. I'll just give you two definitions of organizations. One is that of middle and head, which who defines organization development is a systematic means for plan changes that involves the entire organization and is intended to increase the organizational effectiveness. Cummings and Hughes defines organizational development as a system-wide application of behavioral science knowledge to the plan development and reinforce of organization strategies, structures, and process for improving an organization effectiveness per se. So if you look into it, one of the same thing, it is talking about change in an organization and probably taking the organization into a different levels of effectiveness, different levels of structures, strategies, and so on and so forth. Beres defines organizational development as a response to change. A complex education strategies intend to change beliefs, attitudes, values, and structures of organization so that they can better adapt to new technologies, market, and challenges, and the distinct rate of change itself. Whereas Cummings and Worley define organizational development as a system-wide application of behavioral science, knowledge of the plan development, reinforce of organizational strategies, structures, processes for improving organizational effectiveness, and that is what we are looking into different variation. Benes is mostly reactive, or should I say proactive, probably to the different changes that is occurring outside the organization and how the organization can mitigate itself as a result the organization forced to change, and that is what organization development is all about it. Similarly, for Cummins and Whirling, we are talking in terms of structures, plan, processes, so that the organization becomes a potent force in due courses of time. So, essentially, the objectives of organizational development. Um, the objectives of organizational development is to increase the level of interpersonal trust among employees, sense of belongingness among employees, sense of camaraderie among employees, to increase the satisfaction level, to confront problems instead of neglecting them, to effectively manage conflict, to increase cooperation among employees, to increase the organization problem solving, to put in places process that will help improve ongoing operation of the organization on a continuous basis as on when on criteria. We are talking about the values and the assumptions of the organizational development. First and foremost thing, what are the assumption on an individual level? Every one of us wants to grow. Every one of us wants to lead a comfortable lifestyle. So people have much to offer in lieu of growth, in lieu of a comfortable lifestyle. Individuals would like to put in their effort so that they can improve the standard of living. Definitely, yes. So most employers desire the opportunity to contribute. Everybody would love to contribute. As a group, what do we look into it? Groups and teams are essentially uh, the the lifeline of an organization, because without groups, without the employees, the organization cease to exist. So group has a powerful influences. In fact, I would like to say that there is quite complex roles that a group can play in terms of development. Now, these are the assumption. Now, what are the values? For individual, OD or organizational development aims to overcome obstacles, difficulties, impediments, problems of human tendency to grow, enabling our employee to help and realize his or her potential. Organizational development stresses on transparency. Organizational development stresses on dignity of employees' contribution. That is what is to be emphasized upon it. As the values for growth, we are looking at hiding feelings or probably not being accepted by group diminishes the confidence, diminishes the individual contributions towards the organization. So can we mitigate them? So acceptance, collaboration, involvement leads to the expression of feelings and expression thereby. Organization Excessive control policies, rules are detrimental. Conflict can be functional. If properly channeled, individuals and organization goals can be compatible. In most organizations, the level of interpersonal support, trust, cooperation is lower than desirable and probably necessary. The way groups are linked influences their effectiveness. Change should start right at the top, gradually be introduced to the rest of the organization. The group links the top and the bottom of the organization, and that is what we are trying to figure out as far as organizational development is concerned. Allow me to tell you or talk you through the process of organizational development. Organizational development is nothing but a pre planned approach of improving the work life of the employees, of improving the effectiveness of organization by consciously intervention into those processes that have been structured and immediate bearing on every aspect of the organization. So, what are we looking into it? We are talking about absolutely problem identification. Now, this is what we are looking out here, the problem identification as on when on basis. From this problem, we like to try to find, collect data. After collecting data, we need to analyze the data as for diagnosis is concerned. The analysis will give us certain viewpoints, certain key indicators for planning and implementing the execution of data. Thereby, evaluation and feedback is what we all look forward to. Problem identification is the first step in organization development process. Involves in understanding, identification of the existing potential problems in organization. The awareness of the problems include knowledge of possible organization problems of growth, human satisfaction, the usage of human resources, the organizational effectiveness, the data collection. Having understood the exact problem in this field, the relevant data is collected through personal interviews, observations, and questionnaires. Diagnosis, organizational development efforts being begin with the diagnosis of the current situation. Usually, it is not limited to the single problem. Rather, a number of factors like attitude, assumption, availability of resources, management practices are taken into account out here. This is what diagnosis is all about. It so it is problem identification, identifying whether there is a quality issue, where there is a sense of conflict, where there is malpractices been involved, where there is a overconsumption of resources and probably underutilizations of the output that comes around it. So try to find out data around it and probably look at the current situation in terms of analysis part. The structural analysis will determine how different part of organization are functioning in terms of the laid down goals as the case might be. So structural identification, you will find there they are not following the rules that has been simply stated. So people might be swaying away from the rules. Now this is where you need to integrate them and probably understand what process needs to be followed. The process implies the manner in which event takes place in a sequence, the sequential fashion. It refers to the pattern of decision making, communication, group dynamics, and conflict management patterns within the organization to help in the process of attaining organizational goals. Functional analysis includes strategic variables, performance variables, result achievements, and final outcome. Domain analysis is all referred to the organization for the organizational resources thereby, and that is how we will be going forward to time and again every moment, if we will say so. Now, so let us move to the effectiveness of organizational development. Organizational development, uh, as far as Margulis and Raya articulated, we are talking about organizational development in terms of humanistic values. What are we looking into it? We are looking for opportunities for to be provided to the people for growth, for development, for promotional avenues. In the process, the organization should also become more conducive for profitability, for being much more effective and efficient. So providing opportunities for each members, each employees, as well as organizations to develop to its full potential, seeking to increase the effectiveness of the organization in terms of all the goals that we would love to go around it, attempting to create an environment in which it is possible to find exciting, perhaps challenging work also, providing opportunities for people in organizations to influence the way that they relate to the organizations time and again. And how do we proceed to go towards it? How do we look forward as what can be done? Providing opportunities to people to influence in which they relate to the work, the organization, as the case might be. Treating everyone with dignity, treating everybody has a different requirement. Mm, what we can go across and how do we can go across altogether, what needs to be done. So yes, effectiveness of organization is beneficial not only for the organization but for the employees, not only for the organization but for the society, because it tends to get the optimum value for money that it goes around it. It tends to get the quality products towards it. It tends to get sustainability in the environment. It creates facilitates a sense of achievement not only onto the employees but each one of them. It helps everything, right from the environment to the employees to the organization to any stakeholder that comes around here, and that is what we are should be looking for it. Now allow me to discuss about an organization intervention. As I have said this thing, we have understood organization development. So what are the interventions that needs to be carried around here? We need to speak about interventions which will actually fuse organization to be much more effective, have push the organization to the newer realms of success altogether. So we'll talk about the meaning, the assumption, the factors that helps the change management, and the example if possible. So organizational intervention is nothing but been introduced by a change agent as a part of improving the program. Remember, everything that improves the program is nothing but organizational development, as they may be used by the client following a program to check on the state of organization health, to effect necessary changes in its behavior. Structural activities means such diverse procedures as experiential exercises, questionnaires, attitude surveys, interviews, relevant group discussion, even, believe me or not, even lunchtime informal meetings, lunchtime meetings with the change agent. So if people are getting motivated, people are getting to work, speak time in and day out about the organization possibilities, operation processes, practices that needs to be taken care of, and we are doing nothing by talking but probably motivating each other for the changes or the intervention. So every action that influences an organization improvement program in change agents client system, that can be said to be an intervention. Perhaps there are many possible strategies that can be involved in intervention. Now let us look what are they. Perhaps interventions are principles, practices. We are talking about actions, we are talking about executions of the organizational development, and that is what intervention is all about. It is a sequential activities used in individually or a combination from the client system to improve the social or the task performances thereby. Interventions are nothing but are ranges that are designed to improve effectiveness of individuals through those design that deals with teams, that deals with groups, that deals with intergroup relation and total organization. So be it departmental, be it functional, be it locational, and we can come up with intervention that improves effectiveness, that improves coordination, that improves processes, that improves efficacy of the organization. These are nothing but focuses on task issues, as in what are people doing, focuses on the process into as in how people are doing what. So intervention can be roughly classified into a change mechanism. They tend to emphasize example, feedback, awareness of changing cultural norms, interactions, communications, conflict, education through either knowledge or skills practices. Assumptions of OI. Several assumptions about the nature and function of the organizations are made in a choice of particular strategy. Beckett has six such assumptions, absolutely six such assumptions. The basic building block of an organization or a group. Therefore, the basic Unit of changes are groups and not individuals. Absolutely not individuals. We are not, organization intervention is not focuses on individual focuses would be on succession planning. Individual intervention would be on improving the employer career roadmap. So but organizational intervention is all about groups and not about individual. And always relevant change goal is the reduction of inappropriate competition between the different parts of an organization, development of more collaborative conditions, thereby decision making in a healthy organization is located on information sources itself, where the information has been generated. If people can take decision out there rather than on a particular level of an hierarchy, if you don't understand hierarchy, rather than on a centralized model. Essentially, organizational intervention is all a decentralized model. Empowering the employees is the crux of it. Organization, subunits of organization, individual continuously manage their affairs because they have their goals set, because they know what all objectives they are supposed to meet. Controls and interim measurements, not the basis of managerial strategies, thereby, as the case might be. So essentially, organizational interventions, the healthiest of the goal is to develop transparency, trust, camaraderie, confidence among people, among department, among functional entities, and people will support. They will see what they will do. They will do what they will get, and that is the teamwork that we are looking into it. People gets affected by change. Must be allowed for a lot active participation and a sense of ownership in the planning and the conduct of change thereby. So, what are the factors that can actually help change agent? First and foremost thing which will help a change agent is a client system, willingness to change, understand to change. Why should a client change, the organization change? Because it helps them in the long run, because it is future oriented, because it saves their job, because it makes their life easy. These needs to be made understood. Genuine support from the top management in forms of motivation, if not motivation, incentive. This is what we are looking into it. The values in the top management should be very uniform. Setting a personal example, let's say listening, supporting behaviors, a sound background in the behavioral sciences, as the case might be, a working knowledge of the systems theory, as the case is, a belief in man is a rational, self-educating, being fully capable of learning the ways to do things as on when on basis. So I'll give you, as I've promised, examples of interventions perhaps which we would love to share it. First and foremost thing is building teams, sense of camaraderie, trust among one another. That can only be done through coaching, through mentoring, through large group interventions. Absolutely talking it out, absolutely finding the issues, absolutely having a brainstorming sessions on certain activities, certain personal aspects of the organization. You need to give, you need to see, collect data and see the pain point, as in why certain things are happening. I've already said about coaching and mentoring. I've been talking about performance appraisals as a means of incentives, as a means of feedback, as what needs to be done and how it needs to be done around it. The other thing is of in downsizing, probably not a prudent one, but probably it helps when the organization wants to become much more effective. Probably it helps when people are not able to understand or comprehend what the organizational change is looking for is total quality management. And last but not the least would be a leadership development. With this, I come to an end of this session. I'm sure everybody's understood about organizational development, about organization in interventions, which helps the organization to be much more potent force in due courses of time. Thank you for watching this video till the very end.